Podcast mode feels like this. You have time, you have space. You can take the scenic route to your point, tell the whole story, let the thought breathe, and the host will follow you there because that is what the format rewards. Morning show mode feels more like you have 60 seconds to explain your entire life. You feel like you're on speed, you're sweating, and as a guest, whoo, you have no time. You feel like, wow, that flew by. Okay. Very different. And you need to make sure that you can deliver your point of view for both scenarios. They're two completely different tempos, two completely different communication styles. And the experts who can pivot are the ones who get booked. Let's get to it. This is Think Like a Producer, an on-cam ready presentation. I'm Jamie Maglietta, television news veteran, media coach, and founder of On Cam Ready Media. Be sure to check us out at oncamready.com. We provide thought leaders and professionals with the strategy needed to really stand out online. If you are having some trouble thinking through all your content, come to me. If you're looking for press, let me be your secret weapon before you seek it out. If you are, about to sell a book, find me. Let's talk. Our team can help you strategize and craft out your digital brand so that you are expanding your footprint strategically. All right, today we are going to have a skills edition. I've been using Think Like a Producer to give you, through the producer's lens, a look at different YouTube podcasts and giving you media training tips using those YouTube podcasts to help you as either a host or a guest really prepare for those moments. With everyone on social media, YouTube, you're also on podcasts and Substack, it is important that you are prepared to deliver your points in any shape or form. So today we're going to break it down, and that's why I'm calling this a skills edition. All right. If you haven't already, check out the other episodes in the Think Like a Producer podcast. I'm really focused on helping you shine. So check those out. All right. Let me define the two speeds because understanding what each format is actually asking for is important. Long form podcasts, they basically are meant for depth. The audience has opted in for an hour, maybe 3. They want the full thought, the nuance, the story behind the story. The host wants to explore. The listener wants to feel like they are in the room. And the communication style that works? Conversational, layered, willing to go on a tangent, have a laugh. On television, that doesn't work out. Morning show speed is built for impact. The segment is maybe 2 minutes, if you're lucky, 3. And you really need to be on your game. There are 3 more guests waiting in the green room, and the producer is counting down in the anchor's ear. The audience, millions of people getting ready for work. And they need your most important point first, that first 10 seconds, if they already haven't moved on. Different formats, different contracts with the audience, different cognitive modes entirely. And here's what I saw constantly as a producer. Experts who were extraordinary in one mode completely fall apart in the other. There were times when I would get pitched a guest and I could only find podcast interviews of that guest. And it made it a hard sell for our team because they were very academic, long-winded. And it's like, I don't know if that person can deliver in a live TV format. We only have 3 minutes, maybe for a podcast guest. But so I always tell my clients that they really need to make sure that they have media interviews on YouTube, television, short form interviews, not taped. They need to be live because that's really going to help your producers make a decision about you before booking you. And if you're pitching the media, you also want to make sure that you're showing up on YouTube at all. Because if you're not, you're going to struggle to hear a yes these days. You also need to be leaning into the media with your point of view. So make sure you're doing all that. Download my visibility bundle. There's a link in the description, and you can get my media readiness audit so you can basically see what producers see when they Google you. So if you're someone who's a podcast star, but then you ramble for 2 minutes during a live hit, you're giving us nothing that we can really use. And if it's live, chances are I'm not going to have you come back. So you need to be able to pivot between these two speeds, and it's a skill. It's a skill that can be built. And I'm hoping you'll continue to soak up and binge these episodes of Think Like a Producer so you can wrap your head around what it takes to stand out in any format. So there's this shift between these formats because understanding the mechanism is what makes the training stick. You need to understand that podcast mode for your brain is in what I call this expansive thinking. You're drawing connections, building arguments, adding context. The reward in this mode is comprehensiveness. The more fully you develop that thought, the better the communication. The morning show mode, your brain needs to be in what I like to call precision thinking. You're not building, you're selecting. Out of everything you know on a topic, what is the single most important thing you can say? What is the line that makes the anchor nod? What is the sentence that gets the headline, the chyron changed? The reward is clarity. The more you strip away, the better the communication. The problem is, most experts default to one mode. They're naturally expansive thinkers, which is why they became experts. But now you need to alter that expansive thinking and be ready for both types of thought. Brevity is what TV news wants. Long form thoughts are great for podcasts, not for TV. So if you are someone who is really good at those long form interviews, you want to start practicing how to create your point of view in short bite pieces. And I always say use social media. Share your point of view there. 60 seconds will really force you to figure out what you want to say in a short amount of time, which is what they need on TV. The shorter you are, the more questions you get. Okay. The goal is not pick one. The goal is to develop the ability to shift consciously, deliberately, based on the format you are in. Like a musician, you play classical or jazz. They're different modes. They may be the same instruments, but they're different. Opera, Broadway. I may hit a high note in opera that does not sound the same if I'm belting it out in a Broadway show, okay? There are differences. So here are the 3 skills that make the pivot work in practice. Skill 1, the format audit. Before any media appearance, before you prepare a single talking point, you need to know exactly what format you're walking into. You need to listen to the podcast or the TV show. How long are the segments? Is it live or recorded? Does the host interrupt a lot or just let you run with it? Is there an anchor toss at the end, like they go to someone else? Are there chyrons that you need to help them, fill with some cool ideas? A 3-hour Lex Fridman conversation and a 2-minute Today Show hit require completely different versions of the same expertise. The format audit tells you which version to bring. Skill 2, the comprehensive drill. This is the practice that builds the cognitive shift most directly. And I want you to do this week. This is your homework. Take any topic in your expertise, explain it in 5 minutes, then compress it to 2 minutes, then to 60, then to 15 seconds. Each comprehensive will force you and your brain to make a different decision, which is actually really essential here. What can go? At 15 seconds, you're left with only the core, the one idea, the one line, the one truth that survives when everything else is stripped away. And that's the SOT method that I teach in my bookable frameworks. All right, guys, that 15-second version is the morning show answer. 15 seconds. The 5-minute version is your podcast answer. The 2-minute version is if you're doing like a live hit and they're maybe going to get 2 questions. You need to prepare for all. Skill 3, the tempo trigger. Here is the in-the-moment technique that lets you shift modes on demand. Because sometimes you will be on a podcast and the host will suddenly ask you to give it to them straight. Or you'll be on a morning show and the anchor will say, "We actually have a few extra minutes. Tell me more." And you're like, "Oh, crap." Develop a physical tempo trigger, a breath. a slight shift in posture, a deliberate slowdown, or a speed up of your delivery, okay? Something that signals to your nervous system that you are changing modes, okay? This is to get you changing. Actors use this, athletes use this. The physical cue activates that cognitive shift. You want to make sure that you feel the format, your body response, and your communication style adjusts without a conscious effort. Again, preparation is really key here because if you want to be on TV, podcasts, or quoted in the press, you need to be bookable. And in order to be bookable, you need to be ready. So get camera ready. Let me show you what this looks like in practice because the experts who make that pivot look effortless. And they're the ones the producers call for everything. Think about the medical experts who became household names during COVID, the ones who showed up on Joe Rogan for 3 hours and can hold a deeply nuanced conversation about the viral transmission and immune response, and then showed up on GMA for, a 3-minute interview, delivered the same information in 90 seconds or less. Like, you really need to be thinking about how you're going to deliver. That pivot from depth to impact, from expansive to precise, from podcast to broadcast, is what made those experts the go-to voices of that moment. It made them relevant. Producers across every format knew this person can do both, and that made them invaluable. That's how people become contributors, which a lot of my clients ask, how do I become a contributor? Be relevant, be desirable, be someone that they all need. You want to think about this also as business experts. They appear on long form YouTube podcasts with full case studies, detailed frameworks, and then they go on CNBC and give you the headline version with the same authority and conviction. The experts who get called for everything are not the ones who are best at the one format. They're the ones who make every format feel like their home. And that's what you're building. You're building your cadence, your rhythm, your body of work. And that's also why I do this, to remind you of that. So, your homework 3 things to do this week. You're starting to build that pivot. You're doing the compression drill, picking one topic, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 60 seconds, 15 seconds, recording each version, watching it back. And then you're going to notice, where you're needing to maybe adjust your language, audit your appearances. And then after an appearance, audit it as well. Watch it back. I know no one does. No one wants to watch it back. I get it. So let the format tell you which version of your expertise to bring. Develop your tempo trigger. Decide right now what your physical cue is for switching modes. Now, you may not want to do this because people will see that, but have something that really helps you determine how you're supposed to present your thoughts and feelings and a point of view. And I want you to go watch one podcast episode and one morning show segment from the same expert. Look up one of the experts that maybe you follow on Instagram, and maybe if they've been on a podcast and also on a morning show, find those clips and watch them, especially if they're in your niche, so you can see what your competition's all about. If you're an expert who knows you have the depth for long form and the credentials for broadcast, but you've never specifically trained on how to shift between those two modes, that is exactly what I can help you work with on my one-on-ones. I also have the visibility program. It's a digital course, but that's really going to help you get those bite-sized pieces for social media to really narrow down your talking points, and then have a posting strategy that will help you remain relevant and be visible. You want to constantly be visible to the media, to the producers, so that you're top of mind. And you can also download my visibility bundle with the On Cam Ready checklist. It has a media audit on how you look. You can audit yourself online to see how producers would see you. And I also have an equipment list if you're going to be doing stuff from home, like my lights. And that's your homework. So before you do anything, make sure you get to all of those steps after this podcast. Share this with a friend if you want to be doing this homework assignment with someone else. I'm Jamie Maglietta. This is Think Like a Producer. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel On Cam Ready and follow Think Like a Producer on your podcasting platform of choice. We also have Unknown to Known, so be sure to look out for that. And I'm on Instagram, so find me. Let's talk. I'd love to hear from people listening to this show. As a solo creator, I feel kind of alone. If you've made it this far, please tell me you're listening. Please. All right. I'll see you. Bye.